coming to you on a Thursday. This week is going by so fast, so fast, so fast. But glad to see everybody. Hope you can see me. I see me. I think I look cute today. I put on a little makeup and just freshened up a little bit. I had a busy morning, but I'm here now. And while I was coming back from some of the chores that I needed to do outside of my house, I thought about professional professional relationships or positive relationships that I built during the time I was teaching. Positive relationships that I built when I started teaching. Um, I have always been the type of person to just be open and personable. I always have a smile on my face. I'm always saying good morning and whatever. These are the traits that I have secured throughout my life. I think I may have learned them from my mom, but at the same time, what makes it important, I found it to be very important on my job. I found it to be very important while I was teaching. And my topic for this evening, just for a few minutes, how to build positive relationships or why it's important to build positive relationships within your building. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why, 5 simple reasons why. I remember starting when I started teaching. Of course, I stepped into a building. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody. They didn't know me. But I found myself connecting immediately with those teachers that were teaching the grade that I was teaching. So I was teaching third grade. So, of course, I hooked up with the other third grade teachers. The good thing about this is that there was only one other third grade teacher. So we immediately connected and we have been friends ever since. We immediately connected and we have been friends ever since. But I also found out that when I applied for the job, the principal that hired me, he was very, very open, sort of laid back, but his assistant principal was stronger. So I found myself connecting with the assistant principal a little bit more and building a relationship with her. And this helped me also throughout my teaching career. This also helped me throughout my teaching career. I also found out that under certain administrations, if you are going for a to apply for a job at a school, and if you're the type of person, which I hope you are, you're the type of person that's open to building positive relationships within that building, you this will help you be very successful. You cannot work in a vacuum, vacuum. In other words, you can't work by yourself. And I found out that certain administrators pushed us to do this. They didn't necessarily tell you to be chummy chummy, buddy buddy, all that type of thing. Even though those are some of the relationships that we did build in my building, because we were always socializing with each other. We were always socializing with each other. I attended and went to a couple of house parties, birthday parties, different things like that. And so I was learning and meeting my colleagues on a professional manner, but I also saw them on a personal social manner at the same time. I learned that they, who their children were. I learned the names of their children. I met their husbands. I met moms. I met aunts, and this helped my career throughout because I always felt that when I walked into that building on a Monday morning that I was going to meet friends. I was going to meet friends. And eventually what ended up happening after we changed I was under three different administration administrators in the same building. The my assistant principal became our principal after our first principal retired. Well, what was good about that is that she wanted to establish, because she was a classroom teacher, which was a great help. Okay, so she knew what it was to be, she knew what it looked like to be in a classroom. She knew how teachers felt. She knew about the ups and downs of teaching in a classroom with teaching children and working with children. And so now she had set herself to work with the adults that were working with children. So we found ourselves building what do you call it? We had teams. That's what I'm trying to say. We had teams. We had teams. There's the primary team and the intermediate team and the upper grade team. And these teams were basically where we met on a weekly basis. We would talk about educational goals and what we were doing with our students, especially connecting kindergarten to first grade to second grade to third grade, and so on and so forth. And we were able to be successful because we talked on a regular basis. We met we had our team meetings weekly. But even between the days when we didn't have our team meetings, we found ourselves congregating in the halls or meeting after school, after the students were left, and just sitting in somebody's classroom. Oh, let me tell you what happened to me today. And how many of you had John? Okay, what kind of student was he? So we would share all kinds of information. And we got to the point where we were so connected. As we connected together as adults, we were able to connect with the students that we were teaching. I remember one particular incident. We were in an older building, and that particular building had, of course, windows. We had, the old school buildings had windows. They had those big old glass windows. And what you would do is that, that particular window, you would, of course, be able to look in the classroom and see the whole classroom. Well, a few individuals in our building had started to cover their windows. I'll just let that sit in your mind for a minute. Had started to cover their windows. I don't necessarily know exactly what was behind it, but what I did feel is that they did not necessarily want anybody to look into their classrooms and steal some of the ideas that they were doing. That just came off the top of my head, but that's what I thought. I said, they don't want you to see any of their lessons. What's this about? And when it came down to it, we were a collaborative effort to get these children to learn and put as much into them as we could. And so at one of our teacher meetings, that we were holding basically on a monthly basis, our principal told us, she said that she did not want to see any classroom windows and any classroom doors covered. In other words, the windows were to remain open. The windows were to remain uncovered. That's what I'm trying to say. The windows were to remain uncovered. Don't put up any paper and so on and so forth. And there were some people that just didn't like it, but after a while, it did sit well. And after we were able to get over that particular hurdle, what we started to do is to share what we were doing in our classrooms. And if I was having a fantastic lesson, I would open up my door, and anybody in the hall, I would invite them in to just come in and look and whatever. So I never did feel everything I taught and I was successful with, I wanted to share with other teachers. And it didn't necessarily have to be a third grade lesson. It can be a lesson that the fourth grade teacher can adapt to her fourth graders. And we started sharing lessons across the building, and it was fantastic. We achieved high reading scores, we achieved high math scores because we became a family. We became a family. So if I talk about the 5 things that makes building positive relationships in the building, the first one would be it makes your job easier. You want to be able to go to those individuals who can help you daily, okay? Especially if you're a first time teacher. You make as many friends as you can, especially if there's still veteran teachers in that building and they're doing fantastic things. Then you want to cook up with them. You want to be their friends. You want to come in for advice. You want to ask as many questions. Then, during some of your prep time, you want to be able to go into their classrooms and see exactly what they're doing, how they're doing things. This is the first good point. Okay. Number 2, it makes good for networking. It's good for networking. While I reached out to a lot of my colleagues within my building, I was able to secure other positions outside of teaching. I became a mentor. I was able to become a mentor. Um I was given, hooking up with a particular university, I was getting most of their student teachers. So the networking took place and I was able to achieve all kinds of things. And then as someone networked with me, I would share that information with somebody else. That's why after retiring, I was still connected with some of the teachers that I had taught with at my school. And they told me about Dominican and how I was able to be a mentor for Teach for America. So the networking goes on. You share this information. It might not be good for you, but it might be good for somebody else. And then you just pay it forward because something's possibly going to come back to you to help you in networking. The third thing, you can get, like I said before, you can get very good ideas from other teachers, no matter. And some of our veteran teachers have some of the best ideas. And then some of the veteran teachers were looking for new and innovative things that they can teach their children, especially coming down to looking at anything dealing with like the internet, and that type of thing, and technology. That's what I'm trying to say, technology. So our newer teachers came in with a lot of technology information, and they were very, very eager to share that information with veteran teachers at that time. Okay, it's a the fourth thing is it's the professional way to do things. It's the professional way to do things. Now, I want to tap into this. Does it mean that you're going to always like everybody in your building or everyone's going to like you in their building? No, no. Personalities are personalities. I don't care whether you're a priest or a nurse or a rabbi or a teacher. Personalities do clash. But the thing about it is that if you do find yourself clashing with an individual, what I found myself doing is being very cordial, but at the same time respecting them for who they were and what they did in their profession because I wanted to be respected in return. So if I did not necessarily meet everybody's box, whatever they measured me up to, I was still able to give them the respect and I demanded respect in return. That even happens with your administrators. You know that you're in a building and you started out with one administrator, and before you know it, you have another administrator. Well, you have to set the tone as to what's going on. And a lot of times those administrators are not coming from within your building. They're coming from outside of your building. And I do remember that most of the administrators that I worked under came from within the building, which was very helpful to me because I did know them. But then when I did get a few administrators that came from outside of the building, I made it my personal business to go and introduce myself. And I'm starting to take, oh my goodness, what am I starting to take? Toastmasters, and I learned about icebreakers. So went into the new administrator's office and I did an icebreaker. I introduced myself. I let them know how long I've been there. I let them know what I was strong at, what I was weak at. And I just established something. Now, whether they took it to the next level, which they did because they felt I was very bold about what coming in to just say, hello to them. But I introduced myself. And those were individuals that eventually came to my weddings and my parties and different things like that. So it was good. It was good, to meet somebody on a professional level, but at the same time being able to meet them on a social level is always good because you never know how that connection makes your job easier. And the last thing, I found out that as you develop these professional relationships and positive relationships within your building, if you ever decide that you're going to leave that particular building or that particular profession, you have all of those references. I mean, people can't find anything else but to say good things about you because of how you presented yourself while you were in their presence. And that is very, 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 very important. Very, very, very important. I remember after I retired that there were a few jobs that I still wanted to do according to, that was connected with education. And I just reached back to some of the people that I taught with for over those many years, and they were anxious to give me good references and said that, they said, really let them call me. I don't have a problem talking to them because we developed that special rapport. Now, did it take overnight? No, it took years and years to build this. It took years and years to build this. And I was one of those blessed and lucky ones that I was able to stay in one particular building for a long period of time. I didn't bounce from building to building, you know. I got there and I decided that this is where I wanted to stay. I liked the environment. I liked the colleagues that I was working with. And even though the administrators would change, you know, from time to time, the basis as far as the colleagues being there, we were still there. We were still there. So we had an opportunity to basically let those new administrators know what has made us successful all of this time. And it worked over and over again. So I'm saying that if you have not, if you say, for instance, if you're just a brand new teacher and you have not reached out because you feel shy or whatever like that, do an icebreaker. You know, just go and introduce yourself. You don't necessarily have to talk about education. You can talk about where you were born, how many siblings you have, what's your mother's name, what's your father's name, and that's an icebreaker, and that basically allows people to get to know you in a very personable manner, which is good, which is good. So keep building those positive relationships within your building, and you'll just see how good things will turn out for you. This is Aurelia Davis, Educator's Educator, coming to you on a Thursday afternoon. Everybody have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.